Stand by. Go, you're live.
Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the Village of Ruidoso and the City of Ruidoso Downs Wastewater Treatment Plant Joint Use Board meeting. Today is July 15th, and we are joined by, here in at the Village of Ruidoso, we have Councilor Eby that is in for Gary Jackson. Joe's the proxy for Gary Jackson. Jackson had a medical appointment today. Of course, for everybody, we've got John Cornelius here. We have Bertha Del Santos that's going to be taking minutes. We have our IT guy, Jeffrey Farguson. And then we have joining us Joey Jarvis from Ruidoso Downs, and we have the esteemed Mayor, Dean Holman. So welcome, everyone. And I see on here that John Underwood should be joining us somewhere soon.
John's not going to make it today, Mayor.
He's not? Okay. And we have Mosen Corbin, Karen Gutierrez, of course, Phoebe Suna, and Isaac Garcia, Miss Dixon, and Eric Boyda. So we're going to go ahead and get started so we can get this moving. So thank everybody for attending. Roll call, please, ma'am.
Chair Crawford.
Here.
Councilor Eby.
Here.
Councilor Cornelius.
Here.
Joey Jarvis.
Here.
And Mayor Holman.
Here.
Okay, thank you.
All right. Thank you, everybody. We'll need a motion for the approval of today's agenda, please.
Mayor, I move that we approve the agenda as presented.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Roll call, please, ma'am.
Councilor Cornelius.
Aye.
Joey Jarvis.
Aye.
Chair Crawford.
Aye.
Councilor Eby.
Aye.
And Mayor Holman. Thank you.
Okay.
Here.
Okay.
I couldn't hear.
I'm sorry, thank you.
And if at any time it cuts out or whatever, if you'll just interrupt me, I don't mind at all. So I just want to make sure. And if you can't hear somebody talking, we've got a couple of low talkers here. So if you can't hear them, let me know. Item number 1 is discussion and possible action on approval of minutes, June 17th, 2020, regular meeting. So if we've all read that and there's no questions or comments or corrections, can I have a motion, please?
Mayor, I move that we approve the June 17th minutes as presented.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Roll call, please, Miss Bertha.
Councilor Cornelius.
Aye.
Councilor Eby.
Aye.
Chair Crawford.
Aye.
Joey Jarvis.
Aye.
Mayor Holman.
Aye.
Thank you.
All right, thank you. Item number 2 is the acknowledgement of approval for request of time extension, RTE, from FEMA through DHSEM or FEMA 1783 DR-PW 155, the sanitary sewer system repair rehabilitation project, extending the period of performance to June 28th, 2021. And I believe that is Miss Karen Gutierrez.
Good morning, Chairman, members of the board. We're bringing this approval letter to you all as an acknowledgement of the period of performance date extended to June 28th of 2021. As it stands right now, all requests for time extensions have to go directly to FEMA, as the Department of Homeland Security has exhausted their jurisdiction time. They're only authorized to extend through 30 months, which is about 2.5 years. And since we've exceeded that, our requests for time extensions have to go through FEMA now, which they did grant. So the sewer line project is extended through June 28th of 2021. With us today, we have Phoebe Suena with High Watermark and Jerry Paz with Mosen Corbin. And what I wanted to do was share with you all a presentation that, and I emailed it to you all this morning, but it kind of goes over the project and timelines that we have set right now. And here in slide 2, I was going to ask Phoebe if she wanted to jump on and go ahead and go over through the milestones that we presented so that the City of Ruidoso Downs has an idea of where we're at and what we're, I know that we've made some changes to the timelines that Jerry had presented yesterday, but if we can give a brief update.
Great. Thank you, Karen. Appreciate Mayor, JUB board. Thank you for the opportunity to give you an update. And so this is similar to the update we gave the Village of Ruidoso leadership yesterday. Just to share with you, on July 7th, we received approval of the request for time extensions from FEMA Region 6. And Ashley Marsh from Department of Homeland Security was able to forward that approval to us. And as Karen said, I just want to reiterate that these project worksheets are approved in annual segments. So we have to go through these requests for time extensions on an annual basis. So this, as Karen said, we are approved through June 28th, 2021. And so around May, April, we will then request another time extension for the sewer line project. I did want to mention in talking with Homeland Security this morning, we will also have to talk about extending the entire disaster. That would be disaster 1783, which includes the sewer line and the bridges, just to share that little piece with you that I just got this morning. So the other big milestone is all the letters for easements have gone out to property owners that are impacted by the restoration and lift station phases. So there are 10 restoration phase easements, but there's only 7 property owners because one owner owns multiple properties. On the lift stations, we have 7 lift station easements. And in that group, there are only 3 property owners. The Stinson family owns 5 of the properties that will be impacted. And we plan to have all these easements or a pathway forward for all the restoration and lift stations by the end of this month. And that will really line up well with, hopefully we'll get the environmental approvals, the finding of no significant impact for the environmental assessment sometime in early September. And then just to let you know, Molson Corbin electronically delivered the hazard mitigation phases late yesterday. So they met their July 15th deadline or July 14th deadline. We are transmitting the electronic submittals to FEMA, Homeland Security, Army Corps, and New Mexico Environmental Department today. Molson Corbin also formally delivered the temporary easement exhibits for their hazard mitigation phase. And so that was delivered to Karen and myself late yesterday afternoon. And then I'll turn it over to Jerry to talk about the next timelines here that he was able to visually develop for ease of following along with this complicated timeline.
Good morning, Mayor Crawford, Mayor Holman, and members of the JUB. Appreciate the opportunity to speak this morning. What I'm going to cover is kind of the project schedule as we move forward on this, and this here is the preparation work that we've been working on for the last year. And the design documents, as Phoebe said, were delivered yesterday. The easements for the temporary were delivered yesterday. Now we're working on area calculations, and those area calculations will then break this project up into existing sewer line easements, existing drainage easements, permanent easements, temporary easements, access easements, and then vacation easements. And so we're delivering these for each property owner. There'll be 6 areas calculated on every parcel, and the appraiser values each one of those separately, and he uses that in his valuation report. And so that goes, that work will then be done by next week. And then the appraiser, we're meeting with him this week. We've got some of them done that he's already starting, that we want to go over with him so he can start looking that over. And then he'll begin his appraisal work for about 3 weeks as that part is being completed. And then as he gets a batch done, then it goes to your attorney to start writing up offers for each of the parcels that are impacted. And there's about 127 of them or so.
That's correct.
And so we're looking at then writing up offers, and then at some point we're going to actually send those offers, start sending those offers in the mail. So as the appraiser's getting his work done, then the offers are getting written kind of every week. We're going to be sending out a new batch. And then at some point, we'll then be working with the getting them executed. We think that the easement, there's going to be some where they sign it right away, and that's been our experience in the past. Some of them don't seem to have any quarrel with what we're trying to accomplish, and we think there's going to be a number of them signed right away. We think there's going to be also a number of them where they're going to say, hey, can you move this 3 feet to avoid my rose garden or to avoid 2 things? So after the attorney and Phoebe consult with the property owner, they may come back to us to tweak it at the property owner's request. If it's not going to impact the integrity of the project, we will likely make some adjustments here and there as we negotiate with the properties. And then there's some where we're calling them unfriendly, and the unfriendly ones are ones that may never sign. You know, my grandmother's house was condemned, and I understand that it's a very impactful thing for a whole family. A person's property is important in our country, and so there's some folks that just don't feel like encroachment of government, or for whatever reason, they may just not sign. And so we continue to negotiate with them, but there'll become a period where it's going to start impacting the overall schedule. I'm going to stop here, and I'll get back how that affects construction, because the environmental is intertwined. So I don't know if you want to discuss the environmental, Phoebe. We can come back to the schedule.
Yes, I can go through the environmental. Karen, can you go to the next slide, and then we'll jump back to these. So just to share with you, the environmental, we still have a number of steps. Many of those steps are beyond our control. They're the steps of the regulatory agencies to get out what they need to do regulatorily to get to a finding of no significant impact. But I just wanted to share with you an overview of the entire process so that, again, we can manage expectations and we can make sure that we're transparent in all the steps that need to be taken in order to get a finding of no significant impact. That said, we have been coordinating with the Army Corps of Engineers and New Mexico Environmental Department on their reviews of the design reports, the revised designs. And as of yesterday, in my discussions with those regulatory agencies, they feel like there's minimal changes and no major changes. So we expect their approval of 41144 permitting process to go fairly smoothly, meaning the green at the top of the screen that you see there. So we're hoping that we don't have to go out to a public comment 30-day, which would be the orange, dark orange line boxes at the bottom there. So if we're able to do that, then the next step that we have to confirm is the 106 consultation with the State Historical Preservation Office. And that is a consultation that FEMA Environmental Historic Preservation does between them and the State Historical Preservation Office. And so that's the flow chart at the very bottom there. And the consultation is actually ongoing. So they've been talking and consulting on the various packages and the designs and information, the EA boundaries that have been defined, all the cultural and historical properties that have been identified in the reports. And so as we, what I have there outlined is if SHPO, after getting the new design report and the new designs, if they don't require any additional information, we will then go to the green at the very bottom, where we expect to have the FONSI by the beginning of September 2020, which aligns with Jerry's timeline that he identified in the previous slide. But again, I just want to make sure that we manage expectations. If we do get into a loop where SHPO asks for additional documentation, that may push us to get the FONSI not till the end of September or beginning of October. At this point, the information that we've gotten from SHPO and from the Environmental Historic Preservation Office, from FEMA, they're ongoing discussions, and FEMA's really taken the lead. We have not been involved in those discussions, as that was the decision by FEMA and by SHPO, meaning the Village of Ruidoso, or other regulatory agencies have not been involved in those discussions. So they're keeping it pretty much by the book and just doing it right from FEMA to the state. And so once again, what we're shooting for is the beginning of September 2020 for the FONSI.
Okay.
And I would like to also emphasize that, here's the construction drawings that are complete. Here's the contract documents that are complete, and here's the core report that went along with that yesterday. And while we delivered these documents yesterday, the Corps of Engineers has seen, as we developed each site by site by site for the entire project, every one of them was run to the Corps of Engineers to get their preliminary acceptance and review. And whenever they had comments, we addressed their comments. So there's nothing in here that the Corps hasn't seen at least once or twice. So it's not, while it looks like a lot to review and approve, they've already reviewed this in pieces throughout the course of our coordination over the last few months. And so the CV's timeline, the green timeline, if there was anything that we thought would be tripping us up, we have tried to already address it in your comments to this point. Once we got through the environmental process, we get the FONSI out here, then we can immediately go down and give notice of award to the restoration contractor, SAK. SAK then will then locate to the village and continue on their project. So that's kind of the first step. Is they've been in suspension since December, and the goal is to get them back out there working and finishing their project and getting that moving. That also then we could go out to bid on the lift station project, on the mitigation project, or as two separate projects or one project, however the JUP would like us to do that. The city manager, Tim Dodge, has asked us to provide a summary of the benefits of combining them into a single project and the advantages and disadvantages. And so we're going to be making that available for you to decide in the future whether we do one or two. The advertisement of a project normally takes about 4 weeks to get good bidders. We might extend it out a couple weeks because this is a $20 million job, so we want to make sure that it's a big job, and we want good bidders, and we might give them that extra time conduct site visits with the potential bidders, and then receive their bids. Once we receive the bids, we do our normal analysis of the bids. We make sure we adhere to the selection criteria that's established in the contract documents. We provide a recommendation of award, then it goes to this JUB to award the contract. And then we decide on a notice to proceed date for those contractors. And it could be a single contractor or multiple contracts, depending on that decision, if it's one or two jobs. So that means that as we start negotiating easements, we have all this time to work with the property owners to come to resolution on their easements. And hopefully there's going to be a date where a decision has to be made if we're going to give notice to proceed to a construction contractor, and they're going to require right of entry. And so we're going to have to make a decision at this point if the community wants to go the path of eminent domain or not. The process of eminent domain is you file your legal briefs, the appraisal report, and the easement document, as well as a check. Whatever the appraisal amount is, you write that check, you file it with the district court, and within a couple of days you have right of entry. And so there's a period of time where we've got to decide if we're going to go that route or not before we give the contractor notice to proceed. So some agencies have required that you actually have the easements filed in the courthouse before they let you even advertise for bids. That was not FEMA's requirement the first time around, and so we may or may not run into that obstacle. But we can, while we're negotiating easements, it's potentially possible to get the advertisement bidding, a selected contractor already made, and then we would have to at some point decide we need right of entry. We may have to take that legal action. So I think that ties up the preparation documents, the environmental process, how we're going to approach these easements, and then how that rolls into construction, which I think I put in green because I want to make sure that's the goal, is to get these all built.
Jerry, Mayor and Board, I would also like to share with you that we've been meeting with the lawyers, Mr. Frank Koppler and Zach, and the Village of Ruidoso, and to outline this easement process on the Ruidoso, Village of Ruidoso areas. So Karen was able to really outline a good process, a simplified process into these three categories. So we have a good pathway forward on each of these three categories on what steps need to be taken. So I just wanted to share that with you as well.
Well, with that, we'll stand for any questions anybody might have.
Okay, does anyone have any questions for Phoebe or Jerry or Karen? Mayor, do you have anything? Joey? Joey, do you or the mayor, either one, have any questions or comments?
You're muted, Joey.
Do we have it muted from here?
No.
Okay, can you hear us now?
Yeah, now I can hear you.
No comment from us, we're good.
Okay.
No comment.
Okay, then we will move on. We just need to, if we like all this and understand it, we'll go ahead and make a motion for the approval of the time extension.
Mayor, I'll make that motion.
Okay,
Acknowledge and approve request of time extension from FEMA through DHSEM for FEMA 1783 DR PW 155 sanitary sewer system repair rehabilitation project, extending the period of performance to June 28, 2021.
Okay, do I have a second?
I'll second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Roll call, please, Bertha.
Joey Jarvis,
Aye.
Mayor Holman,
Aye.
Chair Crawford,
Aye.
Counselor Eby,
Aye.
Counselor Cornelius.
Aye.
Thank you.
All right, thank you, gentlemen. Now we'll move on to item number 3, which is discussion and possible action on task order number RFP 2020-009P-01 with High Water Mark LLC for professional environmental compliance, construction, management, and inspection services relating to the FEMA DR 1783 PW 155 sanitary sewer system repair rehabilitation project in the amount of $1,043,277.75, excluding gross receipts tax. And this will be Karen Gutierrez, but I have a question. Phoebe, is it Suna or Swaina? You're muted.
It's Sweeney, like SWEENA.
Okay, well, forgive me for mispronouncing your name for the last 5-6 years.
No problem.
Okay, Karen.
Good morning, Chairman, members of the board. Before you is an agenda for a task order for High Water Mark. Just to give you a little bit of background, High Water Mark began working with us on this 1783 disaster back in 2016. She's played an intricate role with coordinating with all the agencies involved, particularly FEMA Region 6, Department of Homeland Security, the Army Corps of Engineers, and the New Mexico Environmental Department. With her services, she has been able to help the village and the city of Rio Doce Down complete quarterly reports to FEMA, which that right now, as it stands, with the period of performance dates being approved on an annual basis, her input and the verbiage that's needed to be put in those reports play a vital role in getting the extensions approved, because we have to show progress. We have to show movement on these TWs, which we have. So with that, I'm going to let Phoebe speak on what services she has been providing and will continue to provide.
Good afternoon, or good morning, everybody. Again, Mayor Crawford and Mayor Williams and the board. Thank you for the opportunity to speak on this task order proposal and to provide some additional supporting information regarding it. Just to share with you, we've been really, we've welcomed and grateful for the opportunity to work with the village of Rio Doce since 2016, getting it actually approved and obligated, going through all of the processes and the burning hoops that FEMA has, as well as our other regulatory agencies. We were, at the time, back in 2016, we had hoped that we would be able to take the design right from where it was at CH2M Hills process. And so, initially we had proposed a 2-year time frame. And so here we are multiple years later, because of all of the various left and right turns that we've gone through this project. And so just to share with you, the other support services that we'll be providing will be also helping with closeout. That is essential throughout the entire project to have the appropriate documentation to expedite the reimbursements. I know I've talked with Judy and Karen and the village leadership many times, talking about the need for all of these checks and compliance checks that we need to do along the process, so that we can make final reimbursements once we get everything in the ground done. And so what you have before you today is to take us to the end of the disaster, end of all the construction, all the way through project closeout. And one of the things that, you know, we've been able to work with dozens now of communities throughout New Mexico is making sure that our communities get those reimbursements once the project is complete. That's just that next step after construction is complete. You know, I hate to be blunt about this, but it is not an easy process for reimbursements. It's making sure that we got all of the closeout documents, the environmental, and giving FEMA no reason to delay the repayment, as well as the Homeland Security Office at the Department of Homeland Security. Now, we always have to remember we are a sub-grantee to the state, and so we have two bureaucracies we have to deal with. So again, it is beyond the construction period, but as well as the period for reporting and following up on the paperwork so that the village can get those reimbursements. And so and if you have any questions on the timelines and so forth, you know, we do provide the quarterly reports every quarter. We also provide any requests for time extension documentation. Many times, unfortunately, FEMA and the state require additional information, so we work with the village leadership and the JUB to get that documentation efficiently to FEMA, again, so that they have no reason to deny any time extensions or to deny at the very end the reimbursements. And so I think that's all I have to share with you. And again, I just want to extend my appreciation for myself as well as my team. We've really enjoyed working with the village of Ruidoso and getting to know the community at Ruidoso. I've been working there, like Karen said, since 2016, and I feel it's my home away from home. And you know, being down there and I know the streets like the back of my hand now. I know the properties and all of these back streets there in Upper Canyon. So I really, my team and I, we really appreciate this opportunity, and this has been a challenging project. But if you know me, I really like challenges. You know, I'm a glutton for punishment in that way. But I will continue if allowed to, and if supported by the leadership, to continue to do my best to help the village and the JUB navigate through the end of this project.
Okay.
Maybe if you don't mind me interrupting a little bit right here. This project, the 1783, or the actual PW 155, which is the sewer line project, that was funded through a CIRA, I don't know if I pronounced it right, CIRA funding. So the village did receive funds up front. So a lot of what BB will be doing is going to be vital to close up that, as far as not so much getting the final reimbursement, because we don't receive all funds, but the audit that comes at the end of the project is going to be vital.
And this is through the Sandy Recovery Act. Karen, is that what you're speaking of?
Yes, sir.
Right. Okay. And I'd like to bring in Manager Dodge, because I know he's reviewed this documents and been intimately involved in that because it's important on how we manage this. Because of how the game's been changed on us so many times. Mr. Dodge, are you there?
Yes, sir. Can you hear me, Mayor?
Yes, we can hear you fine. So do you have any comments on this?
I took off my mask, that way you'll be able to hear me.
Thank you.
I know I come in kind of muzzled sometimes when I wear my mask. But you know, Mayor, on both item 3 and item 4, I got comments on both of those, if I may comment on both of them, Mayor.
Absolutely.
Mayor, when we look at these task orders on PB's on high water mark, that's going to carry us through the end of construction, if I'm not mistaken. Is that correct, PB?
That is correct. End of construction and all the way to the end of project closeout.
Okay. And so when we look at that, The reason I bring that up is when we look at the item number 4 that's being presented, that task order is only covering what was some of the same tasks as task order number 2 for Moles and Corbin. And that task order only covers those services that are specifically identified within that task. That doesn't cover the construction phase. So we can expect to see a construction phase task order coming through on Moles and Corbin. On both of these contracts, there has been some previous task orders that we've seen that have been in relation to some of the survey work that was done prior. We have reviewed and we put some controls in item number 4 that is going to give us some better management over the way those resources are expended moving forward. Ron and I and Karen have reviewed it on the village's side to make sure that there's not a duplication in services being paid out of other line items, and that all these expenditures are justifiable moving forward. I hate to talk about the past. There was some things that occurred in the past that that led to some of these resources being having to reallocate additional resources to accomplish the easement work. But as we've seen with the presentations that have occurred, I believe that we've moved past that. We made corrections. We got clear direction. We've had ongoing conversations with FEMA so that we know exactly how we're going to move forward. Unless there's some unforeseen thing that occurs like the COVID, I believe we're on the right track. These 2 task orders are really equipping our partners, High Watermark and Molson, to allow them to move forward. With that said, Mayor, my recommendation is that we approve these agreements as presented. And as you see the task order on number 4, there's some additional requirements that we put in there that before any resources are expended under that task order, either on a weekly basis, either Ron or I would approve those resources prior to being expended.
Okay, thank you. Mayor Holman, do you have any questions? Are you, Mr. Jarvis?
No, I don't, Mayor.
Okay.
I've been involved a little bit with this, and I do agree we need to approve the task order for Phoebe, and it's good that's going to be the final and only one.
Okay. And one thing about it is, this thing has been drawn out so long, and we've had some really good team members with this. It's just that things have been changed from day one, many years ago, on this with FEMA, with Army Corps, just different people that are in charge. But I feel good that we've got people really paying attention now. We've really focused with Karen and her department, and then now with Tim really focusing on it, because we feel like sometimes this is getting away from us. But just like with the last item that we had on the agenda that Jerry talked about, we met some benchmarks, and that's one of the things that we're looking at now is meeting those goals so that we can keep up with it. And then we will be getting, I know right now on our capital projects, we get weekly updates on those things, but hopefully soon we'll be starting moving on this Upper Canyon, because I know we're getting a lot of phone calls. And thank you, Phoebe, for taking care of the Herricks yesterday. I appreciate that. So we just need to really stay in communication and just hammer this thing down until we can finally get through it. So did either one of you gentlemen have any comments?
I just said, since I'm new.
Loud into the microphone.
I was just asking, I didn't see any per diem on there. Is that all worked into your hourly schedule?
Yes, that is correct.
I wondered about that. Yeah, it is.
Yeah, counselors and members of the board, I should excuse myself, members of the board and Chairman Crawford, the High Watermark has established an office here in Ruidoso, which has greatly helped us on our billings, because we do get to claim that GRT. So want to applaud her for doing that. So that's why you're gonna see a lot of, you won't see the per diem request for that, because she did open an office here in town.
Thank you.
And the GRT rate reflects our rate, so. Okay, anyway, if we're all ready to move forward on this, and you can see the last pages of this, we'll have, I believe if I remember right, has a place for, both entities to sign, am I right, or is that the
Yes.
next one?
Yes, both task orders.
Yes, both task orders will have a position for us to all sign on so that we hopefully understand every bit of it. So that being said, if we can have a motion on item number 3, please.
Mayor, I'll make a motion to approve task order number RFP 2020-009 P-01 with High Watermark LLC for professional environmental compliance, construction management, and inspection services relating to the FEMA DR 1783-PW155 sanitary sewer system repair rehabilitation project in the amount of $1 million, $43,277.75, excluding gross receipts tax.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Roll call, please, Bertha.
Counselor Cornelius.
Aye.
Counselor Eby.
Aye.
Chair Crawford.
Aye.
Joey Jarvis.
Aye.
Mayor Holman.
Aye.
All right, thank you, gentlemen. Moving on to item number 4, which we heard a little bit about from Manager Dodge. Item number 4 is discussion and possible action on task order number 2, final amendment. Number 1 with Mosen Corbin and Associates for additional engineering services in support of the easement development and property acquisitions of the hazard mitigation and stabilization phase of the FEMA DR 1783 PW 155 sanitary sewer system repair rehabilitation project in the amount of $157,165.00, excluding gross receipts tax. And this one goes to Adam Sanchez. Is that who's? Karen?
Yes, Adam is not available today, so I'm going to be speaking on his behalf.
Okay.
This task order that's before the board, like Manager Dodge explained earlier, it's for resources needed to get through the property acquisitions and the development of easements through the hazard mitigation phase of the project. We do have Gary here today to explain his task order.
Good morning again, mayors and members of the JUB. If you recall the schedule that we provided earlier, there's the preparation, there's the easement acquisition phase. Those 2 areas are what this task order covers. The area calculations that we're doing for the appraiser, coordinating with the appraiser, coordinating with the surveyor in terms of the execution of these easements as they get prepared for completion, and then sent on with your attorney, coordination with your attorney as they move into for the offers. And then as we move into the property owner negotiation, Karen and Phoebe are taking the lead on that. But if the property owners have questions about the design, about anything that's involved, then we would, this task order gives us the resources to respond to those and answer those questions. On some of the other projects, the property owners wanted their little corner stake so they could visualize it in the field. And so we would have to get a surveyor out there to stake, and this allows us to do the tasks that are assigned by the village. So this task order is not set up for Mosen Corbin to charge to unless we get pre-authorization by the village. And the control that Manager Dodge set up. And so we're prepared to provide all the assistance you need, and we're going to be directed on how that assistance is provided and when it's provided. And as I indicated, it's through the easement process. Once everything is filed and on record, this task order will no longer be required. The construction, as this project moves into the construction phase, we've already got task orders to cover the advertising and bidding of the projects, and also the first project, the restoration project, we already have task orders for the execution of that project. So we would, as City Manager Dodge said, as we come forward to the construction of the mitigation and the lift station project, we'll be coming forward with a separate task order for the management of those jobs. But this one is only to cover us through the easement phase.
Okay. Does anybody have any questions? Gentlemen in the Downs, do you have any questions of either one of these folks?
No, we're okay, Mayor. No, sir.
Thank you. With that being said, can we get a motion on item number 4, please?
I can't read that motion. Okay, Mayor. I move that we approve task order number 2, final amendment 1 with Molson Corbin and Associates for additional engineering services in support of the easement development and property acquisitions of the hazard mitigation and stabilization phase of the FEMA DR 1783-PW155 sanitary sewer system repair rehabilitation project in the amount of $157,165, excluding gross receipts tax.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Roll call, please, ma'am.
Counselor Cornelius,
Aye.
Counselor Eby,
Aye.
Chair Crawford,
Aye.
Joey Jarvis,
Aye.
Mayor Holman.
Aye.
Thank you.
All right, thank you, gentlemen. Item number 5 is our monthly report on the regional wastewater treatment plant from Isaac. Mr. Isaac,
Good morning.
good morning.
Good morning, mayors and chairmen of the board. This is just the informational, just my month. For June, I mean, our flows are pretty low. I mean, considering the flows were even kind of low for July also, but we're still removing 99.5% of everything coming in. We haven't had any kind of excursions on anything, so we've been running good. We took a few fog samples. Our influent was 28.6, which isn't so bad because that's all of town coming in. We did get one at the Hollywood station, which was 33.2. And but other than that, everything looks good. Is there any questions?
Isaac, it's John.
Yes, sir.
Are the fog levels down because we're not getting anything from the end?
Yes, sir. And we did get a sample the other day, so I'll have that on the next month's report as far as the inn and Palmer Loop and all those other areas again.
Yeah. Okay, thanks.
Yes, sir.
So at the restaurants, and this was for, now was this for June, you said?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so the restaurants were back open in Midtown, so.
And we did do an inspection on all the grease traps in June. So we have been inspecting as soon as they started opening up. And they're staying on top of things.
Okay. Does anyone have any comments or questions for Isaac?
No, sir. We're good.
Okay. Well, as always, thank you, Isaac, for your report and for all the good work you do. It's always nice when we don't hear anything about you.
Yes, sir.
That means everything's
Thank you.
running pretty bueno, so I appreciate it a lot. Okay, so we all have the paperwork to read if you want to go into those reports more in depth. Do you gentlemen in the Downs, Mayor Holman, do you have anything to report that you'd like to talk about?
No, but thanks for asking.
Okay.
Appreciate that.
You bet. How about you, Mr. Jarvis? You want to tell us about your vacay you had last week?
I had a great vacation, 40 degrees at night, 62 during the day up in the mountains. You can't beat that, especially with as hot as it's been here. And back at work though, back to the grind.
All right.
And I had already heard it. He's flaunting it.
Well, we were glad to hear that you got to get away and get a little rest. Everybody needs that, so it's awesome to hear. How about
Thank you.
Joe? Do you have anything? Joe's been around. Everybody knows Joe, and he's filling in today. Do you have any questions or comments you'd like to make?
Joe, thank you all for doing a great job.
Because Joe's big on our utilities and all the different committees, so he's pretty well familiar with everything. Mr. Cornelius, do you have anything?
No, thank you.
Okay. I guess that being no further business, there's no closed session, that this meeting is concluded and we are adjourned. Thank you, folks.
Thank you, Mayor and Council, and